The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Viewers Discretion. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. I was very torn. I was so torn. I can't even tell you. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Do I go break down Jennifer Crumbley's closing and the closing of the state and stuff like that? I'm very into the whole Jennifer Crumbley thing. You know, I'm very into that. I know I pulled a lot of you down this rabbit hole with me. I yanked you down and said, you have to look at this case. And we enjoyed watching Shannon Smith got frustrated with Shannon Smith sometimes. She's a character. Let's face it. She's a character. And I thought that her closing was just spectacular. The parts that I saw, which was probably like 80 to 90% of it. Spectacular. Really, really good work. Did she go a little bit beyond where I would have gone sometimes? Yeah, a little bit. But, you know, you got to sort of allow everyone to flesh out their own style. And I still plan on covering it. I still plan on breaking it down because the reason it's interesting to me is because I know that other attorneys who I like, respect, have far less favorable opinions of her work on closing. But I also wanted to look at her cross-examination. It's going to take me probably a good 3 or 4 hours of assessment of the Crumbley work to really break it down properly. And what I was thinking is, you know, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe I'll sit through deliberations like in the morning. I'll start something up in the morning on Monday and start sitting through deliberations while we await a verdict by doing it at that point. I'm torn. I'm very torn. So I threw it out, and then I had this whole thing that on Friday, Fani comes out with this, Fani Willis in the Georgia RICO case against Trump, comes out with her opposition papers, and they're a little spicy. Some admissions there a lot of people weren't expecting. And a lot of people from the left are like, oh, wow, this is just marvelous work by Fani. You got to see this. She's just knocking out of the park, one claim after another, just like pop, 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 one after another. I wish I could do that without sticking the finger in my mouth. I can't. So bottom line is I was like, you know, I really want to see. I want to break down her work, see, because they're gonna be kissing. They're gonna be kissing Fani. They're definitely gonna be kissing Fani. So I really want to break that down with you. So that's why I threw it out to locals. And if you follow me at goodlogic.locals.com, you likely saw that I had a poll up saying, what do you want me to cover? You want me to cover Crumbley? Should I cover Fani? And it came out like 60-40 in favor of Fani. So I said, all right, I'm a servant of the people. So let me serve the people. People want Fani. I feed them Fani. So there you go. That's what we're doing. We're feeding them Fani. Speaking of which, I see you slimmed Fani down. I plead the fifth on any manipulations of Fani's picture. I saw that picture of her in that slinky dress. I actually called the file Slinky Dress Fani because, yeah, it is. It's a work. It's a work. It's a work. It's a work in progress. So yeah, I'm denying your claims. Although I can understand why someone might reach that conclusion. There are different stages of her. She sort of like goes like Oprah, I think. Like her weight is just like you never know what it's going to be 6 months from now. But yeah, I think there are probably different stages of Fani. Hey Joe, Tank Rat, good to see you, brother. Long time since I able to catch you live. I'm glad you succeeded. And finally, we have yes. Yeah, it's We Are Joe time. Speaking of Worcestershire sauce, I need to show you something. Worcestershire. She asked me to just like come up with something that was inspirational to write on her hat because she's one of the people who won a hat on the 24-hour stream. And I looked and I came up with a really inspirational message. And then I read it after. So I was like, this is so illegible. No one's going to be able to read this. No one's going to be able to read this. I would give like, this is what I wrote. This is what I wrote. I don't think anyone can read that. And I signed it over here. Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. This is what I wrote. I don't think it's legible. I can't fix it. That's what you're getting. Whenever I manage to figure out how to send it, it's got to dry first. Whenever I manage to send it, that's what I wrote. So I hope it fits the bill. Hope it fits the bill. Anyway, so, but that's what I'm sending out to you. Yeah. Anyhow, what pin what links? What links am I pinning? What am I supposed? This? I can do that. Let me go over them. Ooh. I need to start writing in tongues. Can any of you figure out? All right, I'll pin your thing. You just want to be pinned. You just want me to pin you. Yeah. So anyway, so we're gonna do Fani tonight. We're doing Fani. No, I didn't start writing in tongues. What does that even mean? I always kind of like my hand. Anyway, can any of you figure out what I wrote when I wrote here? Can any of you write that out? Figure that out? It's like, this is so inspirational. It's such. I don't know. Anyone? I'm gonna see if anyone figured out what I wrote there. Not about something about Chaldeans. Yeah, that's what I did. What I actually wrote here, if you can't read it, what I actually wrote, because no one's gonna be able to figure out my handwriting, is challenges are not. That's that blob there. This blob over here. This blob is supposed to be this blob right there. It's supposed to be not, but it got all blob. I was underlining blob. The challenges are not problems. They are growth opportunity zones. So there you go. That was my inspirational thought for you. It's not chalupas are now something. No, it's challenges. Challenges. Why does everyone think it's Chaldean? No, because you see, even over here, the G is sticking down over here. Oh, where are you? See? That's like the G. I don't know. All right, whatever. It's not easy. It's not easy writing. I'm using this thing to try and write. It's not easy. Chelsea. I'm going to get I'm just going to get hate. All right. Well, anyway. So you should expect that in no later than 4 to 6 months. I should be able to get that out to you because you live out in the middle of freaking nowhere. So anyway, a gold Sharpie wouldn't do it. I tried. Try yellow Sharpie, red Sharpie. Doesn't work. Can't write. When you write on a hat like this with Sharpie, nothing happens. You don't see anything. Let's get to work. All right. So to bring you up to date on the Fani Willis situation. So Trump's co-defendant, Roman, what's his first name? Michael Roman or Roman. I don't know if it's Roman or Roman, but Michael Roman or Roman. He was the first one to bring a motion back in early January, I think around January 8th or so. It's not a must. It's matte paint. I don't have to send it. I can just keep it. Yeah, thank you. So blueprints are not cloth. Okay, so Michael Roman brought a motion back in early January, which later, roughly 2.5 weeks later, Trump signed on and said, yeah, that thing he said Give me some of that. That's not some of that. That's not anything what you see there. That's not nothing. That's nothing. But this is what he basically was like. Give me some of that. January 25th. This is Michael Roman's motion pursuant to OCGA 151820. And I went through this entire motion on stream in early January. So we're not going to be reviewing this in great detail, but you need to understand certain basic premises, certain basic precepts that he has behind it. There's really two avenues of attack that he brings. Number one is on a procedural basis, and he cites section 15-18-20 of the Georgian Code, which says that a district attorney in each judicial circuit may employ such additional assistant district attorneys, which he's not, deputy district attorneys, or other attorneys, investigators, paraprofessionals, clerical assistants, victim and witness assistant personnel, all other people and other employees or independent contracts, or as may be provided for by local law, or as may be authorized by the governing authority of the county or counties comprising the judicial circuit. And what they basically spent the first 20 pages of their motion yelling was, she has to be, since it's not under local law, it has to be authorized by the governing authority of the county or counties comprising the judicial circuit, and she did not do that, which means that Nathan Wade has no authority. He has no more authority to charge Donald Trump or Michael Roman on behalf of the state of Georgia than any other attorney admitted to practice in the state of Georgia. I'm admitted to practice in the state of New York. I can't charge someone under the state of New York. I have to be properly appointed as representing the state. Now, this is a procedural issue, which a lot of people tend to poo-poo. And when I say poo-poo, I don't know, that might be a Jewish term. And I don't mean actual Jewish. I mean just the way Jews will sort of say, poo-poo, like it's like nothing. Like, it's no big deal. They sort of poo-poo it. Is that a Jewish thing? I don't know if that's a Jew. That could be a Jewish thing. I'm not going to kid you. It could be a Jewish phrase. Like, come on. Who really cares? Who really cares? I'm getting all sorts of hate about the paint. Acrylic paint marker, $2. It doesn't work. I'm telling you, I tried. Okay? This cost like $7. This was like not a cheap. This thing was like $7. Definitely squeeze cheese. Well, it's honka honka, not honk honk. It's honka honka. Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. Thank you, Jenny. All right, so it's a layperson is more likely to sort of dismiss the significance of a procedural defect. I recognize that. To attorneys and the court, though, it's not considered a small deal because following procedure is the only way we understand, because we deal with this on a regular basis, that if you don't follow procedure, you just have chaos. So the point being that she has no business, she has no authority to deputize someone to serve on behalf of the state of Georgia unless it's approved by the appropriate governing authority from the state of Georgia, like the Board of Commissioners, and the state of Georgia needs to approve it. And that she purposefully did not have him approved. And they further go on to say that because he wasn't approved, he never got sworn in properly, which the whole part of swearing in is to say, I'm not going to be acting with bias. And he was acting with bias. You can't even get him for doing anything wrong about acting with bias because he presumably was never sworn in because he was never properly approved. There's a whole swearing in process. You're going to be deputized to act on behalf of the district attorney's office for the state of Georgia. So he failed to follow those procedures, and now he's not bound to actually avoid acting with bias because, or personal vendetta, whatever issues he might have with people who are RNGer than he is. So now he's basically completely unchecked, unfettered from displaying that bias. And this is all completely failing to comport with basic Georgia law. So how are you going to say that now that Donald Trump or Michael Roman should be found guilty of charges brought by the state of Georgia when they're not brought by someone who has any authority to do so? That's the first part of it. The second part of it fixates on the illicit relationship between Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. And that's the part which makes all the headlines, because that's a lot spicier. That's a lot bigger. That's a lot bigger of a deal from the perspective of the public. The public sees that and says, what you talking about, Willis? But everyone else in the law really, I think, probably fixates more on the procedural elements to it. It's an interesting dichotomy because it's much tastier. It's much tastier to say, like, wow, you're actually acting like with your boyfriend and kicking him money and all that other stuff. And when you read that part of it as an attorney, it's juicier. It's a much bigger headline, but it's a little bit weaker. It's a little bit weaker because, you know, relationships between, if he had been properly authorized to do what he's doing. So, okay, go prove that the motivation was that he would have money to take her flying. It's tough to sort of sink your teeth into that as a judge, to be like, I'm going to throw this whole case out for good because I think that she was sinking her teeth into him. Hey, it doesn't, you don't know that that's what's happening. It's really just speculation. And indeed, we're going to see in her motion that she argues that it's mostly speculation. But the interesting thing from what I saw, the first part is she doesn't really fixate on the first argument. She really spends a great deal of time answering the second argument. And that's an interesting approach, that she's almost seems like completely unconcerned with all the issues that most attorneys would be concerned with, most judges would likely be concerned with, as far as the legal propriety for what's happening here, and instead fixating on her own personal improprieties with Nathan Wade. Here we go. State's opposition defends Roman, Trump, and Chile's defendants Rump. Defendants, I sound like a leftist there for a second. Defendants Roman, Trump, and Chile's motion to dismiss and disqualify the district attorney. Comes now the state of Georgia vying through undecided counsel of Fulton County District Attorney's Office to oppose meritless motions to dismiss grand jury indictment and motion to disqualify the DA filed by Michael Roman, Donald Trump. Oh, really? You're not even gonna let me like highlight stuff here? You suck. Damn it. And Robert Chile. I guess Chile signed on with it also, because remember, there's 19 defendants here, at least in its heyday, it had 19. A few of them flipped and decided to start becoming songbirds, like some blonde attorneys, but not everyone flipped. While the allegations raised in the various motions are salacious and garner the media attention they were designed to obtain, none provide this court any basis upon which the order of relief they seek. Unequivocally, the evidence and facts demonstrate that DA Willis has no financial conflict of interest that constitutes a legal basis for disqualification. District of DA Willis, DA Willis has no personal conflict of interest that justifies her disqualification personally or that of Fulton County District Attorney's Office. The attacks on Wade's qualifications are factually inaccurate, unsupported, and malicious, in addition to providing no basis whatsoever to dismiss the indictment or disqualify Special Prosecutor Wade. DA Willis has made no public statements that warrant disqualification or judicial inquiry, and criticism of the process utilized to appoint and compensate the special prosecutors in this case demonstrates basic misunderstandings of rudimentary county and state regulations. So that's the first argument. She basically waits till like the bottom of this to get to the process utilized to appoint and compensate the special prosecutors in this office demonstrate basic misunderstanding of rudimentary county and state regulations and provides no legal basis for dismissal of the indictment and disqualification. So I'm really going to me, and I know we all care about the salacious charges, and we will spend considerable time on it, but I am going to I'm going to fixate really on what the hell she's claiming in this with respect to the procedural element of things, because honestly, I don't even understand. I don't understand. I'm very confused. I'm very confused by it, but we'll see. We're going to see. Bella Stella dropping 10 more Good Lawgic memberships. Bella Stella, you need to drop an email to goodlogic@gmail.com. Goodlogic@gmail.com, because I did name you as one of the winners of an autographed hat, and I don't think I've gotten an email from you yet. I need you to tell me you want me to sign on top, underneath, what you want me to write, where I'm going to send it, stuff of that nature. So I'm urging you, Bella Stella, please make sure that you drop an email to me so I can start processing that for you. So, but thank you so much for your support. If you're a new member of the following, pursuant to these gifts that Bella Stella is just bestowing on random people in the public, you're now a member of the following. I'm going to share one more thing with you about like members of the following and the diggers. This is something that I was thinking about. I was thinking about engaging in like a new little thing for my diggers. A new little thing that I'm considering doing. I saw this joke. We're going to come back. Don't worry. I saw this joke where there's this tribe which has a tradition that the chief of the tribe names all of the babies. All of them are names of the babies. So this brave comes up to the chief and he says to him, I'm wondering, Chief, how is it that you come up with the names that you give to different babies when they're born? So he said, well, on the 8th day after they're born, I have the mother bring the child to me. And we have a very serious ceremony whereby I hold the baby and I look around, and what I perceive as being the aura, the atmosphere, is what inspires me to name a child. So on the day that your sister was born, I could hear and feel the wind all around me, as if it was trying to impart to me, and hence she's called Whispering Wind. Your brother, when your mother brought him to me, so there was a large, I saw one of the great buffalo off in the distance. He was grazing. So he's named Roaming Buffalo. So, but I'm curious, why do you ask me that question, farting dog? So, anyhow, with that, I was thinking, after I heard this joke, I was thinking that those of you who are diggers, a lot of you I see seem to have picked up numbers for yourselves. I'm seeing that, and that's a good thing. This is a positive thing. Because organization is a very important thing within the following. Organization where people can, feel their place in the community. That only builds stronger unity and stronger community. And you know that the following is all about community, unity, and personal growth. Well, if we're helping 2 out of 3 of those, I think that that's a great thing. That's a great thing. But I was also thinking that perhaps members at a certain point could earn a name, like a following name. You have your given name. That's your parent. That's the name your parents gave you. But that each member of the following could be like basically conferred upon them a designated name within the following. Because, yeah, you have your regular life, day to day, where people are calling you Linda or Bob or whatever. But that's not really necessarily reflective of your role within the following, where your role within the following likely should have a name which properly designates your spot within the following, not just like, digger number 137, but like, a name, a specific designated name, which properly identifies your role within the following. I'm thinking about how I would structure such a thing. I'm thinking about it, but that's over at goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. That's awesome. And that's awesome. That's what and we should call him Biggie Ben. Biggie Ben. You see, that's going to be his new name. If he joins the following, he definitely would be Biggie Ben. Obviously. Okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, this is not a good idea. This is not a good idea. No, not a good idea. I understand why you think it's a good idea. I understand short-term thinking. It's not a good idea. I like it. I like the creativity. I've thought this through. It's not a good idea. Most specifically because it means I would have to keep running to the post office. But one last thing before I get back to this. When I first started explaining how whoever sends the most money, I'm going to send them a hat, and I went through this entire lengthy process where I was explaining what a chore it is for me to send out an autographed hat, and how it's just like it's not worth it. It's just not worth it, and and that even if I was getting paid like $100 per hat, it would not be worth it to me. Not I don't want it. I wouldn't do it, and I said, that's the sort of thing that I make a statement like that, and it infuriates Lady Lawgic, where she's like, "What the hell is wrong with you? You're getting paid $100 for a hat. You wouldn't." I was like, "No, I wouldn't do it." And I said, I know that she would get so ticked off if she heard me say such a thing. Well, sure enough, Friday night, I'm sitting around the table there, and I was telling them about the whole, hat thing that happened with the 24-hour stream, because none of them watch. So I was telling them what happened. And as soon as I started laying this out, Lady Lawgic just erupts. She's like, "You wouldn't do? Are you out of your mind? What is wrong with you?" And I just looked at her and said, "I love you so much." It's like, and when I finished telling the whole story over, she just fell over laughing. And I was like, yeah, I knew it's the sort of thing that make her really angry at me. Make her really, really angry. We get names when we die. His name was Robert Paulson. That's pretty good. I didn't think of that. First world issues mailing signed hats. It is. Thank you very much. I live in the first world. Okay. I live in the first world. Let's get back to work here. Okay. All right. So let's move along here. This is Fani Willis's opposition to the motions brought by Roman Trump and Chile to dismiss. The motions identify no conflict of interest and therefore no basis for disqualification. The district Georgia courts have long recognized there are two generally accepted grounds for disqualification of prosecuting attorney. First ground is that there's forensic misconduct. Conflict of interest, or number two is forensic misconduct. Defendants advance no arguments about forensic misconduct, nor they offer any evidence to support such a claim. So let's just put that aside, which is true. There isn't anything about forensic misconduct, meaning like, that they, played around with evidence and basically to make things, there's no claim about that. Defendants do not point to any action taken by a district attorney or any of her staff that has been outside character of an officer of the law, specially charged to oversee either the special purpose grand jury investigation or the prosecution of these defendants. Instead, the motions attempt to cobble together entirely unremarkable circumstances. This happens all the time. District attorneys sleeping with special prosecutors, very special prosecutors. This happens all the time. Unremarkable circumstances. A special prosecutor Wade's appointment and completely irrelevant allegations about his personal family life into a manufactured conflict of interest on the part of the DA. The effort must fail. For a prosecutor to be disqualified from interest requires a personal interest, and a district attorney is not disqualified by personal interest in a case where he, quote, was not acting in his personal or individual character or for the personal or individual interest, but in his character as an officer of the law, specially charged by statute to perform this particular duty. Conflict arises when a prosecutor has a personal interest or stake in a defendant's conviction, a charge that no defendant offers any support for beyond fantastical theories and rank speculation. Well, there's a lot of billing hours there. We're going to go through those billing hours. We're going to go through them because Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade puts forward an affidavit, and I got to tell you, I love it. I'm just like, and some of his billing, I'm like, I never made bills like that. Never, ever. Like, good luck billing like that to like a real client rather than the state. His method of billing that we're going to see later is just like, really? That's how you put together a bill? Really? Really? You're a special prosecutor? This is how you put together a bill for the state? You'll see. We'll see. I'll walk you through all the things that are just, to me, unorthodox. Very unorthodox. I'm just telling you, based on my personal experience, what I've seen from other attorneys, what I've seen other attorneys create, what I personally have created, that I'm just like, someone gave me a bill like that, I'd be like, no. That's not a bill. That's not a freaking bill. Conflict arises when a prosecutor has a personal interest or stake in a defendant's conviction, a charge that no defendant, blah, blah, blah. Conflict requires more than a theoretical or speculative conflict, which you can understand that that's the way the law would be. It can't be theoretical or speculative, but that doesn't mean that we don't need a further investigation. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be entitled to dig a little further based on these theories, which is, honestly, if you ask me what justice demands after reading these papers, if you ask me what justice demands we should have a hearing on this. Hopefully, oh my God, I would love to get a hearing. Like a judge saying, you know what? I want to get a hearing more about this relationship. Because we don't know what's happening. You're just denying. You're saying it's fantastical theories. Well, why don't we give Trump an opportunity to put you on the stand and question you? Give Roman's attorneys an attorney to question you. Because obviously you're going to say that there's no, anyone in your position would say that there's nothing here. They'd say that it's just a fantastical theory, that's speculative. But there's enough smoke here. Maybe a hearing so that a judge can reach determination and findings of fact as to whether or not these are purely speculative special interests. That's what I'm hoping for. My God, that'd be amazing. And if that hearing does happen, it likely would be broadcast live. And if it is broadcast live, I can assure you that I am going to be covering that. I am going to be all over that sucker. If it happens to fall out on my daughter's wedding day, sorry, kid. No, I'm kidding. No, that I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I'm going to be all over that. I'm going to be all over that. If you had to guess, do any of the bigger Trump trials go? The January 6th trial, Georgia trial, or the classified document trial? I've said several times, I do not expect that any of these trials are actually going to happen before his. The one that seems most likely to happen beforehand, I mean, New York could try to push anything forward. They have that. People forget about the New York trial brought by Alvin Bragg. So New York, maybe. I don't know. That's the one that even the left admits is really, really flaky. We've seen how judges in New York, though, can bend over backwards to try and accommodate anyone who's coming after Trump. So that's a little disconcerting. So maybe Alvin Bragg gets his day. Eileen Cannon is the judge who's overseeing the Florida case. She seems to be very really leaning as being pro-Trump, to be fair, being realistic. It's a jurisdiction which is highly favorable to Trump, and she seems to really be giving Jack Smith a hard time with his case. Right now, the March 4th date on the Washington case has been taken off the docket. So that one, I cannot even imagine that's going to happen. I really think the Supreme Court's going to knock it out. In fact, you bring up something else, which is that Glenn Kirshner went on some show. He's a former prosecutor, who's a hardcore lefty, and he was saying that he's positive that the Supreme Court is going to allow states to knock Trump off the election ballot. I think the guy is cuckoo, go nuts, bananas. I think he's out of his mind. I think he's a lunatic. I was watching this and I was thinking, this guy should not be giving legal or political commentary about anything. I thought this was a joke. I thought this guy's just out of his freaking mind. Yeah, of course that's what's going to happen. So yeah, I don't really foresee Alvin Bragg is the one I think most likely to get there. I think he's the one most likely to get there. I think she's most likely. He's most likely to get there. But the other ones are going to really struggle. It was the Washington, D.C. case was supposed to go for J6. That was supposed to happen on March 4th. It's been taken off the docket, and it's been officially postponed that it's not happening on March 4th, and it's been postponed indefinitely, and the Supreme Court likely will knock it out before it actually happens. Not likely. I shouldn't say likely. There's a really strong chance. Really strong chance. Now, so no one gets confused about this, and people do get confused, okay? Even attorneys get confused. There's two different issues that might come up before the Supreme Court. Right now, pending before this D.C. Circuit Court, that we're waiting for them to pen their decision, and we are anticipating, I can almost promise you, that the D.C. Circuit Court is going to side with Jack Smith against Donald Trump and say that even if he's not convicted at an impeachment proceeding by the Senate, that you're allowed to bring criminal charges against him. That will very, very likely go up before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would have to grant cert, and that likely will go to the Supreme Court. What we know will definitely be coming to the Supreme Court, because they've already granted cert, is the issue about removal from the ballot. Completely separate. What happened in Colorado, what happened in Maine, what we're starting to see pop up around the country, that is something that is definitely going before the Supreme Court. And that is the one I'm telling you, I'm very confident that Glenn Kirshner is out of his mind and that he's not going to be taken off the ballot anywhere. So, coming back over here. By the way, I just want to say, with respect to this motion, do I think this motion will be successful to knock this case out? Gun to my head, probably not. It'll be interesting to see how they work around it, but I'll tell you right now, gun to my head, not feeling it. Because I think that courts are loath to take such a drastic measure as take a case of national import that's receiving national attention and saying, you're going to knock this out on a procedural basis. But I think a hearing may be held. I think there may be a hearing. And that's what I would love to see. I really want to see a hearing. Under the clear definition supplied by law, neither DA Willis nor Special Prosecutor Wade have had any personal or financial interest in the conviction of these defendants, and such defendants failed to support their claims. So this is an interesting issue that they're raising here. What they're specifically addressing is, normally when you talk about having an interest in the outcome, it's like there's a bonus that you'll get if you get a conviction. You actually have a financial incentive. We don't consider billable hours or jacking up billable hours. The law tends to not really view that, even though anyone could easily view it as being something that is in your personal interest. Most of the time, from the case law I've seen, I haven't looked at Georgia specifically, but the cases that I've seen, we tend to say that those are, they could have earned that money doing something else. So it's not money, that's not considered financial incentive just because you give a person a job, an opportunity to rack up hours, and they're racking up tons of hours. I don't foresee that is going to be a claim that is going to be considered a financial interest in the case. Now, it could be other improprieties. It could be other things that it looks ugly. And that's a different issue which Roman raised in his motion to dismiss. He said, hey, look, you're supposed to avoid even the impropriety in the appearance of impropriety and this whole nature of this relationship where you're giving a job to your boyfriend, and the nature of the job that you're giving him enables him to make tons of money, and he's spending tons of money on you, and you hide that from the public without, and you never go to to the government authority and get approval for it. You just do it without taking that step. And now you give this job to your boyfriend, and after you give it to him, you give him tons and tons of hours and basically a blank check to write whatever he wants. And his billing, which this is why I think his billing is important, his billing is very shoddy compared to what I've seen most attorneys do. Now, maybe in Georgia, it's not considered shoddy. Maybe that's the way people bill in Georgia. I don't know. It's possible. I'm simply saying no New York attorney would fill out their bills the way he did. No, I've never seen anyone do that. No, you can't, because there's just it's so lacking in any detail. And I'll walk you through it when we get to the exhibits, which we're going to get to. They're making the point that that's not considered personal financial interest, which is likely true. It's likely true that the law is that that's not considered personal financial interest. A conflict of interest can also arise when the prosecutor has a relationship with the victim of a crime, which obviously is not relevant here. Finally, because it's not the victim here who they have a relationship with, it's with their coworker. Finally, where the prosecutor is a fact witness providing information incriminating of a criminal defendant, disqualification from personal interest is appropriate. So if the prosecutor is sleeping with the main witness against that person, then you think that that person might be testifying in order to make the prosecutor happy. So you can understand how that is considered. That's considered a basis to disqualify the prosecutor. All of these circumstances can create a personal interest on the part of the prosecutor that legally justifies disqualification, but none apply here. That's a fair point. Finding a financial conflict of interest on the prosecutor's part is exceedingly rare, but has been found to arise where a special prosecutor is compensated by a contingency fee that is paid upon conviction, which is what I was explaining earlier. Courts have held that incentivizing a prosecutor to secure a criminal conviction with a contingency fee creates a conflict of interest between his public duty to seek justice and his private right to obtain compensation for his services. Public duty is you're supposed to be finding justice. Justice might not be to convict him. So if you're getting a bonus, a contingency fee that, hey, upon conviction, we'll give you $200,000, that's something which smells gross, that you're going to ignore what justice dictates. Even justice dictates cutting him a deal. So that's the sort of case where we say that there's a conflict of interest. But again, none of the circumstances that could support us finding a financial conflict, as that term is understood in Georgia law, can be found here. Willis's state and county annual compensation is set by state law. There's no claim about that. It's about Wade, really. And it's not the least bit reliant or dependent on any particular outcome in this case or any other, although one could say that her ability to be reelected is based on a conviction here, but that's an argument that's not going to work also. Defendants' attempt to conflate media attention with personal financial gain is complete conjecture. One could speculate with the same confidence decision not to seek charges or to seek different charges against different defendants arising from the same set of criminal violations of laws will result in comparable media attention. That's crap. That's ridiculous. Everyone knows that the reason you're getting this attention is because you're going after Trump. This is just like how dare you try to lie to the court this way? Like, how stupid do you think the court is? That they're like, oh yeah, one could speculate with the same confidence decision not to seek charges. Yeah, that she's going to be in the limelight for months and months and months and months and months on end. That's ridiculous. Ignores that District Attorney Willis has attracted both positive and negative publicity related to this case, which include ongoing personal security threats, racial slurs, sexual invective, and attacks. So that doesn't mean anything. And most importantly, this fuzzy concept of personal and financial interest via media attention advanced by defendants is simply not a definition that's ever been recognized by Georgia law. And that's probably her best argument. Then even if she becomes a national celebrity because she's going after Trump, that doesn't mean that qualifies as personal interest. Should it? Arguably. But if you're going to say that that's personal interest, then nobody could ever charge him, right? If we're going to just pause for a second here, and here's why I think that she's correct, even though it feels kind of gross to say so, but the reality is this. Take Trump out of the equation. Imagine 15 years from now, someone is going after President Bongo for some crime. Whoever is going after that person is going to receive national attention. Now, Bongo might be a terrible human being, and the charges may be really justifiable, right? But they're going to receive national attention. Are we going to say, well, because this district attorney is receiving national attention, now they have a personal interest and that therefore they're disqualified? That doesn't make any sense. You have to be able to go after people who are celebrities, even if whether they're political celebrities or otherwise. And that doesn't make it now all of a sudden like, well, you're invalidated because you went after a celebrity. That doesn't make any sense. This wouldn't even apply to just political people. This would apply to someone going after Alec Baldwin or some other celebrity. You'd be like, oh, you're only doing that so people will talk about how you're going after Alec Baldwin. It's a weak argument. You can understand how that falls apart on any sort of scrutiny. Spurrier's allegations of public seeking aside, it must be made clear that District Attorney Willis did not go looking for this case. That's garbage. That's hot garbage. He totally did. These defendants centered their racketeering conspiracy to disrupt and overturn the 2020 Georgia election in Fulton County, committing crimes. See, this is just hot garbage. The motions are based on guesswork and public relations strategy, not legal argument. A conflicted prosecutor presents a risk that he or she will disregard public interest for personal benefit. No circumstances alleged by any defendants even approach the threshold, let alone cross it. And the accusations brought to this court by defendants on the flimsiest of factual support may cause a reasonable person to wonder if the defendant's motivation is more tactical than legal. No. The fact that you didn't hire him properly, and the fact that you hid your relationship with him, you little homewrecker. I don't know, because Fani the homewrecker. And that you chose this guy out of anyone. You chose this guy, and they're going to go into a whole thing trying to say how he's really, really, really super duper qualified. He's the superiest, duperiest, most qualified. If you ever thought anyone was qualified for a RICO case, it's Nathan Wade. If you have questions across the country, I'm kind of surprised that people aren't just turning to Nathan Wade across the country and saying, oh my God, we need to bring Nathan in here. We got a RICO case going on. We got to grab Nathan. He's the only man for the job. His qualifications. Any personal relationship among members of the prosecution team does not amount to disqualifying conflict of interest or otherwise harm a criminal defendant. Okay, well, let's hear your argument on that. Much of defendant Romans, I missed a couple of these. What do you got going on here? Sorry. Did you hear that Mazi Phillip is running for Congress from New York as a Republican, is endorsed by Ron McDowell. Ron McDowell happens to be a registered Democrat. Mazi Phillip, I don't know who that is. And I'm going to say this. So you're asking like, okay, this is classic uniparty supporting a Democrat. I will say this. Very few people in New York are registered as Republicans. Part of the reason for that is not simply because there's a lot of Democrats, but because the Republican primaries don't hit New York at a time that actually seem to matter, whereas the Democratic primaries do. So at the same time, I do not look at Ron McDaniel as any sort of endorsement. Now, that's because I think that Ron McDaniel is a neocon and part of the uniparty. So no, I don't really have any respect for that. So I'm certainly not going along with any sort of endorsement of Mazi Phillip. I'm simply saying the fact that Mazi is registered as a Democrat in New York, that's really not uncommon. It's not uncommon. And that doesn't really reflect in New York, it really does not reflect your cultural or moral perspectives on things that you happen to be registered as a Democrat, because everyone, it's like you're almost stupid to be registered. They make it stupid for you to register as a Republican. So the only reason you would register as a Republican is on principle or because you're running for office. But it's like on principle, even though you're cutting off your nose because you're not able to basically vote in any primaries that matter. Providing Fanny services fails the smell test. Okay, I get that. If the entire case is thrown out, does Jenna Ellis get to take back her guilty plea? This is a great question. A great question. Great question. I think the answer is no. But I'm not a criminal defense attorney, but I'd be very surprised if the answer is yes. Now, the only way it could even theoretically happen is if we sort of view everything here as void ab initio. Ab initio means is a Latin phrase meaning from its initial outset. In which case you would say, well, if it was void ab initio, there was never anything valid here. In that case, how could the charges against her be valid? It's an interesting legal question, which I don't think will have much in the way of ramification, because ultimately what she settled for probably resolved already, is probably like close to being resolved already altogether. Theoretically, she could bring an application if it's deemed to be void ab initio. You could see how they would basically say that's not going to be considered void ab initio. It really would depend on the nature of how it gets knocked out. It could get knocked out going forward as opposed to ab initio, meaning retroactively back to its commencement. So, but this is a great question. It's a great question. I would think it's unlikely to happen, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. If that's a great way of seeming like I'm dodging your question, it's because there's too many facts that we don't yet know, which really inhibit giving a responsible answer with much more conviction than what I've given. What you talking about, Willis? Elected Democrat, whether they're really Republican, can give Democrats the speakership. Hello, Speaker Jeffries. I'm not saying that they should. I'm simply saying I don't support Mazie Pilip. I don't know anything about Mazie Pilip. I'm simply saying you're telling me that because if they were once a Democrat and then register as a Republican, and you say, well, this person is poisoned because they were once registered as a Democrat, I'm saying by that logic, everyone at some point, every New Yorker at some point is registered as a Democrat. I'll bet anything that Lee Zeldin at one point was registered as a Democrat. I bet anything. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't. In his youth, that he was registered Democrat. Because you have to be stupid when you first register to not register as a Democrat. That doesn't mean you vote Democrat. Doesn't mean you agree with anything Democrat. So you just want to have a say in the primaries. So, I think it's something that a lot of people hear that and they're like shocked to hear it. But I'm telling you, that's just the reality of the way people register in New York. That even people who are very strong Republican type America First type values will likely register Democrat if they're in New York. Just because of the way the primary setup works. At least the way it used to work. I'm not sure if it still works that way now, but the way it used to work, yeah. I'll tell you right now, when I was living in New York, I was registered as Democrat. I didn't agree with anything the Democratic Party says. But I was registered as Democrat there. It was crazy not to. And that was under the advice of my parents, who were like, if you don't register as Democrat, you're an idiot. It's not because they agreed with anything the Democratic Party was saying, but it's a matter of just like why would you forego an opportunity to vote in a primary to register Republican and then not be able to vote in a primary? Because by the time the Republican primaries come to New York, it's much later in the process, and the presidential candidate is already selected. That's the only point I was making to you about it, that the registration in New York is really not reflective of your ideology at all. I would guarantee you that all my friends who live in New York, 95 out of 100 of them are registered Democrats, and none of them agree with Democratic policy. All of them vote Republican every election. So, any personal relation among members of prosecution does not amount to disqualifying conflict. Much of Roman's motion relies on supposition and innuendo regarding a private relationship. It's actually not much of it. It's actually only the last third of it. The first 2/3 have nothing to do with this. But she spends all day talking about this because she's humiliated. And properly so, because this is gross and disgusting. You're a homewrecker, Fani Willis. It's this, and you're a homewrecker who basically gave a job to a guy who probably should not have had it. So it's distasteful that such allegations require response, but for candor's sake, we're finally going to give candor a sake in this. Candor didn't have any sake in this till now. There was zero candor's sake till now, but for candor's sake, and to provide the court with sufficient facts to resolve the matter efficiently, the attached affidavit of Special Prosecutor Wade makes clear that Roman's insinuation that his counsel was aware of material in the sealed divorce filings in Wade v. Wade that would in any way support disqualification of dismissal matter was a blatant misrepresentation designed to seek publicity instead of a meritorious legal remedy. I don't know about that. They settled that case really fast. Right before the hearing of Nathan Wade. All of a sudden they settled it. I really hope this judge gives us a hearing on this. Makes them come in under oath and talk about their stupid affair. The affidavit also clarifies that although and please, no video. Seriously, no video. The affidavit also clarifies that although District Attorney Willis and Special Prosecutor Wade have been professional associates and friends since 2019, there was no personal relationship between them in November 2021 at the time of Special Prosecutor Wade's appointment. Now, this is an interesting thing. This is a very interesting statement because the implications from Roman are that they have evidence that there was a personal relationship when he was first appointed. And this is flat out rejected. I don't think she's using federal funds. I don't think you're correct about that. I think she's using state funds. That's the whole issue, that she's used her state funds to go after him. This is a state case. She's using state funds. In fact, the part of the complaint in the motion is that she was using funds that were earmarked by the state of Georgia to help her catch up on her COVID backlog. And instead of using it for that, she used it for this Trump case. So these are, I'm 98% sure these are Georgian funds, not federal funds. So this is a very interesting conflict of just a factual issue here, which the court may deem to be relevant as to whether or not the relationship existed in November 21 when he was first appointed. And that's part of what could be in a hearing. You would imagine that would be a relevant issue in the hearing, because Roman is claiming, no, there was stuff that was happening between them that predates his appointment. I.e., any charging decision or plea recommendation in this case was impacted by a personal relationship. Without those additional factors, the existence relation between members of a prosecution team in and of itself is simply not a status that entitles a criminal defendant any remedy. Georgia courts have held as much for decades in both civil and criminal contexts. Personal relationships among lawyers, even on opposing sides of litigation, do not constitute impermissible conflicts of interest, which that makes sense. But in the context of him not being properly appointed, that makes it that much shadier, right? Tellingly, the court in Ventura explained that while it has recognized the intimacy of a marital relationship, it does not follow that professional people allow this intimacy to interfere with professional obligations. Well, they're not also like slipping into the sheets with a married prosecutor. That might be worse. It probably is worse. Sleeping with someone's husband. We have found no authority, none has been cited to us, the proposition that married lawyers who are involved in active litigation on opposing side of the case must be disqualified. Yeah, well, what about, where's the one for where they're having an affair with a married man, Fanny? Do you have that? You have the case? You have a citation on that, Fan? You got something for that? Because I think we'd all love to see that. Defense motion does not cite to any of this controlling case law because it's not relevant. That's why. It's not controlling. You're saying controlling. It might be related, but it's not certainly controlling or any other authority that would support disqualification and dismissal in these circumstances. It's worth noting that there are at least two personal relationships among the collection of defense attorneys representing defendants that under the standard urged by the Roman motion, look at this. Let me sling some mud back at you. Oh, you're saying we're in a personal relationship. You're in a personal relationship. And you're in a personal relationship. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, let's get to it. Oh, let's get to it. You got lots to say here, don't you, Fanny? You want to throw mud at me? You throwing mud at me? Huh? Huh? No. I'm going to throw mud back at you. Amanda Clark Palmer, counsel representing defendant Ray Smith, Scott Grubman, representing defendant Kenneth Cheesebro, are publicly known to be in a personal relationship. It's not that you're in a personal relationship. It's that you gave a job to this guy without being sanctioned by the Board of Commissioners and then paid him much more money than anyone else. Since defendant Cheesebro has pled guilty and agreed to testify for this day in the upcoming trial against defendant Smith and the other remaining defendants, one who is ill-informed about the standard for attorney disqualification in Georgia might argue that the personal relationship between Clark Palmer and Grubman could rise to the level of conflict given potential testimony. This is now you're just conflating like arguments here. She sounds so confused. He claimed that she used federal grant funds. So that could be other, you know what? So I want to now you have me all curious. But she used COVID grant funds for this prosecution. So maybe it's a mixture of funds, both state and federal. Maybe Kimmy was correct. Kimmy's correct. Now I gotta check this out. So 2 days ago, Jordan sent a letter to Willis on Friday that the information he is seeking will help inform potential legislative reforms his committee is exploring, and they want to haul her in. Republicans on the Judiciary Committee have been looking into Willis's use of federal funds during her office's investigation into former President Donald Trump and his alleged scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. I'm pulling this up here. Just y'all looking at it with me. Federal Justice Department grants potentially being used for other unrelated expenses. Grant was earmarked for youth gang prevention in Fulton County. A report from the Washington Free Beacon, a conservative news outlet, alleged that Willis' office sought to use the money for items like laptops, travel, and swag. See, I don't know that this is related necessarily to Trump, though. If she's using that she's misusing federal funds, I don't know that that's related to this Trump indictment. It's possible she's doing that also. I mean, let's face it. I mean, she's likely a very corrupt individual. She goes with this whole Tartufian approach of like standing up in front of some sort of Christian, presumably some sort of, church function, talking about how the struggle is real and they're out to get us and the white man's coming after us and all that other garbage, like a veritable Tartuffe, which is one of the best plays ever written by Canterbury. Not by Canterbury. But the point that I'm getting at here is that that this could be a different nature of corruption. This is different than than using federal funds to pay Wade. Because the whole nature of the charges that are being raised by Roman in his application are, in part, that they're misusing Georgia funds. I think we're crossing wires here. I think Jim Jordan's coming after Fani Willis on other bases for misusing funds that were for this youth gang prevention in Fulton County to buy laptops, travel, and swag, and that's not related to that she's using it for Trump. That's what I'm seeing here. That's what I'm saying. I could be mistaken. I'm telling you what I see. Is it possible I'm mistaken? Yeah, definitely possible. That's what I'm seeing here. I think Jim Jordan is coming after her for misusing funds in general, but not necessarily related to Trump. He did go after her also, just to be clear. He went after her to subpoena records back in September, which she said was obstruction related to this case. But this is two different attacks that I think Jordan's coming after her for. Joe, you're wrong. Philip is from Long Island. Long Island is mostly Republican. Primaries are important as well as petitions for access. I'm from Long Island, been registered Republican since high school. She's registered Democrat for a reason. Okay. I'm telling you what I was taught in New York City. Now, you can disagree with me. I'm telling you, I remember being told this when I was 17 years old. Maybe things are different now. I don't know how old you are. I don't know. Just telling you that I'm sure I'm not alone in being told to register Democrat for primary bases. So you're telling me that you weren't. So in that case, what that's essentially saying is that not everyone embraces that philosophy, and that you're someone who never embraced that philosophy. I don't know that necessarily refutes my point that there are plenty of people who are registered Democrat who are not Democrats, right? See what I'm saying? If 30% of people who are Republican in ideology in New York register as Democrats, then if you see someone register as Democrat, that doesn't tell you that, oh, this is a person who's pro-choice, right? Because they could be one of that 30%, right? That, of course, would be an incorrect conclusion to draw. This is coming back to her stupid analogy to these other people who are, which I think is pretty childish type of analogy. Attacks on the qualifications of Special Prosecutor Wade are both unfounded and evidence of bad faith in which this motion was brought. There is no evidence of improper conflict of interest in his appointments. Well, let's get into this. That the thoughts and views of defense counsel and the qualifications of any of the attorneys of the prosecution team should factor in this court's consideration of legal conflict is, in a word, absurd. As a preliminary matter, no criminal defendant has a right to select the prosecutor of her choosing. That's no one's saying that. No one's saying that. It's like, it's like this is such a desperate attempt to try and hide the ball. No one's saying that. They're simply saying, why would you choose this dude if not for the fact that you were sleeping with him? And there's no qualifications here. Neither Georgia nor any other jurisdiction permits a criminal defendant to choose his or her prosecutor. No one's claiming that they do. The point is that this was a political appointment, not a interest of justice appointment. Criminal defendants are entitled to be prosecuted for free legal conflicts of interest, of which notably none are found here, rather than according to preference. One need look no further than defend Roman's baseless effort to undermine Wade's qualifications to manage the state's investigative efforts to recognize the bad faith that runs through this motion. While the motion makes dismissive accusations about the adequacy of Wade's successful, decades-long legal career to lead the prosecution of defendant Roman and his co-defendants, a decidedly strange position for a criminal defendant to take. The truth is that Wade has long and distinguished himself as an exceptionally talented litigator with a significant trial experience. Oh, okay. See Exhibit A. Wade affidavit. He's diligent, relentless advocate, known for his candor with the court, and a leader more than capable of managing the complexity of this case. How many RICO cases does he have? Tell us all about his work in RICO. Tell us all his work in criminal prosecution, criminal defense. In addition to having been appointed a municipal court judge, by the way, basically means traffic court judge. Ooh, that's what municipal court judge usually is. He was like, he had to sit there and basically decide, was this guy drunk driving or not? Obviously, he's ready to handle a RICO charge. In 3 jurisdictions, and I've been asked to present on topics relevant to the training of new judges in traffic court. Within the Council of Municipal Court Judges, Special Prosecutor Wade has received accolades and recognition for his litigation skill, contribution to his community, and the legal profession generally, and no serious person can contest his legal qualifications. Any serious person would contest whether or not that's right for him to handle a RICO charge. What the hell does that have to do with understanding anything about criminal law? One thing. Tell me one thing this displays about his knowledge of criminal law or defense. Well, where is this aptly displayed? Because he was a judge in traffic courts. Like, this is a joke. Counsel for Roman, of course, is well familiar with the experience and qualifications of Special Prosecutor Wade. Yeah, that's why he chuckled when he saw them. Whatever contrary representations are made in Roman's motion. During a judicial campaign in 2016, defendant Roman's counsel, Ashley Merchant, was an enthusiastic supporter of Wade's candidacy and described him in glowing terms. Why Nathan Wade? Nathan's ethical experience matters. Nathan's experience includes public servant, prosecutor, private attorney, judge. Nathan's practice in every area of law that appears before the Superior Court bench. Oh, okay. So she signed off on an endorsement. Ooh. Also, a recipient of the Gate City Bar Judicial Section Legacy Award. Received Georgia's Top Lawyers Award in 2006 and 2009. All emphasis added. Merchant was both a vocal and visual presence in support of Wade's campaign. There's Ashley Merchant supporting Wade. There they go. I'm not going to deny the fact that this is a good line of attack for him. Neither Willis nor Special Prosecutor Wade have any financial interest in conviction of the defendant. No one says that they do. That was never the claim. Wade has been compensated for his time spent working on the case, just like any other special prosecutors retained to work on the case and others throughout the state. Yeah, all those are assigned. I want to hear why he wasn't properly assigned, because that's really what lies at the heart of this. That you bypass that. If she had followed normal procedure and the Board of Commissioners had approved Wade, there'd be no motion. There'd be no motion at all. Since Wade's appointment in November 21, he's managed the district attorney's team of lawyers and investigators through every stage of investigation and prosecution. Okay. All right. So they're trying to justify his hours now. Shortly after his appointment in January 22, Attorney Willis petitioned the Chief Judge of the Superior Court to convene the Superior Court judges to consider her request for a special purpose grand jury to conduct a criminal investigation of the facts and circumstances relating to the 2020 election. Once Judge Brasher issued an order authorizing the special prosecutor's grand jury, Wade directed the prosecution in support of the body's work from its authorizing order of January 24th through its dissolution a year later. There we go. Unsurprisingly, not every witness was a willing participant in the grand jury process. Procuring the witness testimony referenced by the SPGJ involved litigation, which was overwhelmingly successful in states and federal venues. Okay. Special prosecutor investigation report led to a 98-page indictment, ultimately returned by the grand jury in August 23. None of this is saying that he had the right to do this, though. Payment of earned compensation to Wade has not resulted in any financial benefit to District Attorney Willis. Roman's motion wildly speculates that Willis somehow benefited financially from the investigation prosecution of this criminal case, but provides no support to justify that conclusion. I don't know. Airline flights kind of seems to support that. To be absolutely clear, the personal relationship between Prosecutor Wade and Willis has never involved direct or indirect financial benefit to the District Attorney Willis. Defendants have produced no evidence to suggest that there's any circumstance that would constitute financial incentive on the District Attorney's part to pursue a conviction in this case through the appointment of Special Prosecutor Wade. What about the airline tickets? What about the cruise tickets? What about that? No one cares about whether you have joint shared finances or a shared household or financial dependency. Financial responsibility for personal travel taken is divided roughly evenly between the two. Well, that's your claim. That's your claim now. Maybe that's true. I don't know. What if he was like homeless because he didn't have any job until you gave him one? Isn't that a consideration? They would claim he would never be homeless because he's so talented as an attorney. Both are professionals with substantial income. Well, now he has substantial income. yeah, that's kind of the issue. His income is a lot greater than yours now. Readily distinguishable from contingency fee arrangements or other scenarios where a true financial conflict of interest may play a role. Okay. Given this total absence of financial conflict of interest, defendant Chiles, this is where I'm saying is we might have a hearing about this. We might get a hearing. I would love to see that. And if it is, I can assure you I will be covering that. Given this total absence of financial conflict of interest, and I say covering, I mean like live streaming that hearing. Given this total absence of financial conflict of interest, defendant Chiles' effort to advance a theory that the DEA has engaged in multiple ongoing conflicts is unsubstantiated and unpersuasive. Well, unpersuasive to you, but reality is not really very persuasive to you either. Looking to an order disqualifying the DA and her office from the investigator into Lieutenant Governor Jones issued by the judge overseeing the SPGJ, Chile cannot support his motion factually or legally. The order from a Superior Court judge is not, of course, any binding precedent on this court, and the elevated standard applying the analysis was respectfully inconsistent with the actual legal standard of Georgia. See, I haven't looked at the Chile motion. They cited an investigation into Lieutenant Governor Jones looking to an order disqualifying the DA and her office from an investigation into Lieutenant Governor Jones issued by the judge overseeing the SPGJ. Chile cannot support his motion factually or legally. The order from a fellow Superior Court judge is, of course, not binding precedent, inconsistent with the actual legal standard Georgia appellate courts have applied for decades, and conflict of interest requires more than a theoretical speculative conflict. We heard you say that before. Persuasively, the prosecuting attorney's counsel tasked with assessing potential conflicts of interest for prosecutors and providing guidance to prosecutors across the state on matters that are at issue found no conflict of interest, and the political activities cited as a basis for the Jones disqualification. Simply put, the previous order disqualifying the district attorney from investigating Jones during the SPGJ phase of the case sheds no light on the legal standard applicable to motions to disqualify the DA, where neither any conflict of interest nor any patterns of misconduct has been shown. District Attorney Willis' public comments are well within legal and ethical rules and guidelines, provide no basis for disqualification. Oh, they're coming after her for her little church chat. Now it's time for church chats. Well, isn't that special? Lots here for the Georgia hearing on the 15th. Are you going to live stream Colorado SCOTUS arguments on Thursday the 8th? What's the status of Trump trial with YouTube? It's a lot of questions you managed to very deftly weave into one, and I will answer each one of them because they're all legitimate questions. Am I going to live stream Colorado's SCOTUS arguments on Thursday the 8th? Yes. So this Thursday, I will be live streaming oral arguments before SCOTUS. So, yes. I also plan on live streaming the Georgia hearing on the 15th. And what's the status of Trump trial with YouTube? They're being a pain in the neck. What they basically said to me was that they don't want to monetize me because I restream stuff that I did on this channel over there. So they're looking at it as just like it's a restream channel. So they're being a bit difficult for me. So I got to figure out how to work my way around that. That's essentially where I'm at with that. Where was I? Make sure we're good over here. Let's see something. I should check this out. We're good there. Hey, boop. All right. I want to hear, I really want to jump to, let's see what they say about the Trump motion. Defend Trump's motion raising public comment made by D.A. Willis that neither reference this case nor these defendants as a basis for disqualification is transparently meritless. Motion makes no serious legal argument, establishes no violation of any ethical rule, makes no real effort to link public statements to legal standard for disqualification, raising vague and plaintive cries of due process does not supplant actual governing legal standards. Well, you sat there screaming basically about how afflicted you were. It could be basically trying to tamper with the potential jury pool, but to make out a claim of unlawful selective prosecution, Wallace had to show that his prosecution represented an intentional and purposeful discrimination which was deliberately based upon an unjustifiable standard such as race, religion, or other arbitrary classification. Here, defendant Trump has presented no direct evidence that the prosecuting attorney was motivated to treat him differently because of his race, gender, or any other improper ground. No, she just hates him because she's demented. Voir dire not motions for disqualification is a procedure under which the impact of public statements have on prospective jurors is evaluated. See, I didn't even read the Trump motion on this, and I'll tell you, I knew that it was about the impact of public statements on prospective jurors. What does that mean? It means when she gets up there and makes a speech publicly talking about the whole case and her personal struggles with it. So now, isn't there a decent chance that this, is something that a potential juror is going to see and then try and sway them to be sympathetic to her? It doesn't seem like something that a responsible district attorney should be doing. Trump's motion fails to establish an adequate basis in law of fact, but even if somehow did establish such, it fails to articulate any reasonable argument connected to real, actual legal standard. Instead, much like the motion advanced by Roman, Trump's motion appears designed to generate media attention rather than accomplish some form of legitimate legal practice. It should be dismissed out of hand. Well, he also embraces Romans, but state appointment of special prosecutor Nathan Wade complies with both state and local law. This is what I really wanted to say, because Roman spent 2/3 of his motion saying that they didn't follow the law. And she claimed, no, you just don't understand the law. So let's hear what she has to say about this, because this is really key. Both Roman and Chile make loud but baseless arguments demanding disqualification of the prosecutor of special, very special prosecutor Wade and dismissal of indictment based on decided misread of relevant statutes and governing authority. This court has rejected some motions to quickly add these wrong-headed theories to the discard pile. There's no structural error with or harm resulting from special prosecutor Wade's appointment special prosecutor. For reasons this court has already explained, denying similar claims of error by defendant Cheesebro, motions allegations of structural error in the handling of special prosecutor Wade's oath of office misstates the requirements of special prosecutors. So there was an order on defendant Cheesebro's motion to dismiss indictment for failure to comply requires that assistant DAs who are undertaking deputized duties generally take the same oath as the district attorney. That's not the real issue here. That's a much smaller issue. However, the requirement does not apply to special prosecutor Wade because it shall not apply to any deputy who may be employed in particular cases only. Given the development of investigations into the collective defendant racketeering activity, this became Wade's primary focus. As this court noted in its order denying similar claims to defendant Cheesebro, regardless of the particularities of the special prosecutor's appointments, OCGA 45-3-10 provides that the official acts of an officer shall be valid regardless of his admission to take and follow the oath, except in cases where so specially declared. No, the oath was really a secondary argument. That's not the issue. The issue is that you're not entitled to appoint someone. Not simply his failure to make an oath. OCGA 45-3-10 echoes the de facto officer theory recognized early in the Supreme Court existence. An officer de facto is said to be one who exercises duties in an office under color of an appointment or election of that office. The validity of a de facto officer acts is so well settled that is embodied in the code as part of OCGA 45-2-1. That's what I want to see. There we go. Cite some law for us. 45-2-1. Let's check that out. The next person ineligible to hold public office should be valid as the acts of an officer de facto. Despite the lack of filing, all special prosecutor acts while in office would be valid as acts of a de facto officer. Following persons are ineligible to hold any civil office. The existence of any of the following facts shall be a sufficient reason for vacating, but the act of such person while holding a commission shall be valid as the acts of an officer de facto. Namely, let's see if she gets more specific here. Perhaps most critically, defendants have failed to establish how any of special prosecutor district attorney's actions with respect to the filing of his or her oath of this appointment generally result in harm or prejudice to him, i.e., how those actions change any specific course taken during the investigation of this case or result in the pending true bill of indictment. Nor has defendant established a constitutional violation or structural defect in the grand jury process sufficient to justify dismissal. We have to show harm as well as error to justify relief, and defendants failed to show either. Defendants misunderstand county and state contracting procedures in asserting any impropriety. Roman understands and acknowledges that his issue, failing to file an oath on behalf of Special Prosecutor Wade, was raised by other defendants in prior filings. Despite this acknowledgement, Roman raised the same issue and has failed to introduce additional material facts that warrant a deviation from established precedent. Well, the other facts he raised were that he wasn't approved. Prior defendants raised the fact that Wade never took an oath. Roman raised the fact that he was never approved. The DA in each judicial circuit may employ an independent contractor as may well be provided by local law or as may be authorized by the governing authority of the county. Right, we got that. Fani Willis was duly elected district attorney, was well within her constitutional duties and responsibilities contracting with Nathan Wade or any of the 20-plus professional service providers her office contracts with annually. Contracting with professional service vendors is well-established practice that affords prosecutors of all kinds. The state of Georgia's AG hires outside counsel, commonly referred to as SAAGs, to perform legal work. Okay. A district attorney can use the funds allocated to the office by the county commissioners as he or she sees fit. The appointment of Special Prosecutor Wade, former judge, prosecutor, defense counsel, and managing law partner, is wholly appropriate. He's a prosecutor now? Because he didn't say that earlier. Roman's motion also incorrectly contends that this appointment exercised by a state constitutional officer must be followed by approval of the local government's board of commissioners. As an initial matter, Roman nowhere articulates why a violation of Fulton County procurement procedures prejudices him or justifies any of the relief he seeks. Well, if he's not appointed, then he's not licensed to do any of this stuff. That's the point. So he does cite that. That's not true. You're misstating that. He specifically says he's not authorized. In addition, Roman erroneously relies on OCGA 45-3-5 and Fulton County Code of Ordinances. You keep coming back to this oath thing because you won on the oath thing before, but you didn't really address this. Of course, District Attorney Willis is not a county officer. Official oaths shall be filed when taken by coroners, tax collectors. Of course, District Attorney Willis, like all elected district, is not a county officer. District Attorney Willis is a state officer that is elected in the general election to represent the state on criminal matters Superior Court that occurs in Atlanta Judicial Circuit. As a state officer, the DA is simply not obligated to conform to the requirements applicable to county officers pursuant to OCGA 45-3-5. So you're saying because she's a state officer, not a county officer, you're not obliged to conform to the requirements applicable to the county officers. So that makes sense to me. If she's an officer of the state, not an officer of the county, you only have to follow the state laws, not the county laws. Okay, that would make sense. But just as OCGA 45 does not advance, but that doesn't mean when they cite 1518-2, this is a state guideline. It's not a county guideline. Maybe I'm missing something in her argument, but this seems like she's like sort of dodging the question here by trying to pretend that she's only governed by state law, not county law. This is not a claim that she's violated county law. This is a violation. This is a claim that he filed that this is a violation of state law. But I don't want to give short shrift to her argument because I'm missing her point. So let me read through this again. The DA may employ an independent contractor as may be provided by local laws, may be authorized by the governing authority of the county, right? Willis, duly elected DA, was well within her constitutional duties and responsibilities contracting with Wade. Contracting with professional service vendors is well-established practice according to prosecutors of all kinds. The office you're saying because that Roman claims that you have to follow a state constitutional officer. I don't even get what she's saying here. I'm not getting you. Official oath shall be filed when taken by a crown minister, but of course, District Attorney Willis is not a county officer. Oh, this is trying to refute the county code of ordinances. She keeps coming back to the oath thing, but I don't think she was really addressing here the issue that she's not. I don't see where she's really addressing the issue that he's not properly appointed. I think she's trying to glom this in there. I think she's trying to just gloss past that. That's how this reads to me, and I could be mistaken. Justice Ossoff does not advance defense claim for drastic and complete unwarranted rev. Now, it could be true that failure to abide by this does not necessarily create a remedy for someone charged by that. And I think she seems to be coming back to this de facto officer. All right, ineligible to hold any civil office. So saying that maybe he is ineligible, but anything he did would be de facto valid. This is not a residency issue, so that's not relevant. In other words, okay, so just to clarify what I'm seeing here, because I know I'm sort of reading a lot and digesting and not talking sufficiently. So let me just clarify here. What we have here is she's trying to basically say, let's understand the back and forth here, and I'll try to break it down for you as best I'm comprehending it so far. Trump and Roman are claiming, in order that based on this section here, which says how you can appoint a special prosecutor the way she appointed Wade, is that you have to be authorized by the governing authority of the county or counties comprising the judicial circuits. Otherwise, it's not valid. Now, Fani is trying to get around this problem by saying, even if that's true, this de facto regulation says, okay, he wasn't really appointed properly, But there's a concept of de facto that since you were acting in that capacity and fulfilling that role, we're not going to invalidate those things which seem to be good in all other respects, just because of a technical problem with the appointment. So now we have to sort of say, oh, so we're sort of going to ignore the technical issues and just recognize the actions that were taken as de facto being done by someone who was properly able to take those actions. And she's relying on this statute to say these are the circumstances where we're able to sort of rely on those de facto actions. So I want to sort of look through here and say, okay, does that uncover someone who acts as a special prosecutor, even though they're not really a special prosecutor? Because they didn't comport with OCGA 1518-20. And again, she doesn't. I'm trying to parse through what she wrote here. It's a little bit inarticulate. So where are the cases where we say that will be considered valid of the acts of an officer de facto? That even though you're not technically the right person, de facto, because in fact that's what happened, we'll just sort of recognize being good. So where are the circumstances that we allow that? Well, let's say a person is not really a resident. They had to be a resident. So that residency issue they have, we're going to ignore that and say whatever they did de facto, that's okay. Okay, what else are we going to allow it? All holders or receivers of public money of the state or any county refuse to fulfill when called upon after receiving to account for the payover. The same in the proper officers. So any steps they took in that capacity, we're going to not undo those steps. Any person finally convicted and sentenced for any felony involving moral turpitude under the laws of any other state is also a felony state unless restored. So someone gets removed because they're convicted of something. We're not going to undo the actions that they took in their capacities, in their official capacity. Persons holding any office or trust under the government of the United States other than that of postmaster. So this might be what she's talking about. Now, under this section, someone holding any office or profit or trust under the government of the United States. Well, this is federal. That would be a federal thing. So that really is difficult to say that would apply here. However, that with prejudice to his right to hold public office, any person may accept appointment to maybe. So let's assume that their federal commission was invalid on some basis. So we're going to recognize that their actions as being valid. That doesn't seem to apply here. Persons of unsound mind and persons who from advanced age or body infirmity are unfit to discharge duties of the office to which they are chosen or appointed. So the actions they took, we're going to recognize those as being valid. Those persons who have not been inhabitants of the state, county, district, for a period required by constitutional laws of the state. So we find out after the fact that you were not valid to hold office because you're not really inhabitant of a state and you had to be an inhabitant of the state to fulfill that office. The actions you took will recognize retroactively that those actions are still valid. Person who is not a bona fide citizen of the county. All persons who are constitutionally disqualified for any cause. All officers are eligible for re-election and reappointment. I don't see how this helps her out. I don't see what she's talking about here. I think this is a red herring she's throwing up there. Because she's trying to say that even if he wasn't properly appointed under 45-2-1, that we can still recognize his acts as being okay. It doesn't cover him. It doesn't cover this position. So I don't know what the hell she's talking about. Should we pull up 45-35? That's a whole county issue, county versus state. I think that she's sort of glossed past this in hopes that the court will gloss past it as well. They may. I don't think that she did a good job of addressing that at all. That doesn't mean she won't be successful in getting the court to gloss past it. I'm just saying, if you're going to take a magnifying glass to their claims and what it is, and I don't think this is a really big magnifying glass. It seems to be a significant thing. The dude wasn't appointed. You would think that's significant. She's focusing here on the whole oath issue. Now she's trying to back end it, saying that Willis went beyond the required county procedure to ensure invoices paid to special prosecutor and individually approved by the CFO of Fulton County. So, how is that relevant? If you didn't follow process, how is that relevant? I don't know what the hell she's talking about here. I want to get to his affidavit. I don't think she did a great job with refuting that part of Roman's claims, which are also Trump's claims. I want to get to his affidavit. It's right here. Now, I'm not familiar with the way things look in Georgia. Maybe I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that this is the way an affidavit would be prepared in Georgia. To me, if I saw someone follow something like this in New York, I would assume you didn't have an attorney to represent you, because no one would file an affidavit like this in New York. In New York, we would have the caption on top of this whole thing. It would the whole thing just looks like it was done by like a 14-year-old. We got a word processor and just wrote out words. But okay, fine. I'm just saying that's being. I'm not trying to be petty. I'm simply saying, like, this doesn't inspire confidence in me that this is like Mr. Professional. But okay. Person appear before me, the underside. It could be that's a Georgia thing. Could be in Georgia they're not as formal. That's very possible. Very possible. I was surprised when I saw this. That's my point. So let's hear his affidavit. This is Nathan Wade's personal affidavit. Okay. Give us the facts in your own words, Nathan. My name is Nathan J. Wade. I'm over 18 years of age, under no legal disability, competent to attest matters stated herein, and make this affidavit based upon my personal knowledge. I'm a resident of the state of Georgia. Okay. I made this affidavit with full knowledge of its contents, mindful of the oaths, and have taken as an attorney and as a judge. Okay. I, Nathan J. Wade, have been a member of good standing of the State Bar of Georgia since 1999. Admitted Superior Courts of Georgia, Georgia Court of Appeals, Supreme Court of Georgia, U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, Northern District of Georgia, Middle District of Georgia, United States Supreme Court. Served as a prosecutor several times during my career. First as Assistant Solicitor General in Cobb County, then as a Special Assistant Attorney General for the state of Georgia, and a Special Prosecutor for the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. Okay. So you weren't really a prosecutor. You just sort of like sat in on, right? I mean, isn't that, I don't know what an Assistant Solicitor General is. Special Assistant Attorney. And I don't know what he was doing, Special Prosecutor for the Atlanta Judicial Circuit, but open law practice in 2000. Law firm has been employed between 4 and 9 employees. Okay. So you had a nice small firm going on there. Okay. Served as civil attorney in practice, represent individuals, business, and corporations. Civil attorney. Okay. Served as criminal defense attorney. Okay, there we go. Representing hundreds of individuals in state and federal courts charged with felony and misdemeanor offenses. All right, so at least there's some criminal defense work here. That's something. Some criminal defense work. Okay. Tried many felony cases representing clients in serious matters, including but not limited to. He doesn't mention any felonies that he went after as a prosecutor, by the way. You would think that if there were felonies, he would mention that, right? He's getting in the whole felony cases representing clients in serious matters, including but not limited to capital offenses, murder, rape, armed robbery, as well as aggravated assault and drug trafficking. So this is clearly, I think, in a defense capacity, right? Some of these cases garner media attention. Some of these cases garner media attention, not national, but media. So one of them has been reported on. Okay. I was retained as outside counsel to represent the sheriff of Cobb County, contracted to conduct an external independent accountability assessment review. My contracted compensation was a rate of $5.50 per hour. Now, I want to be clear here. He was being paid by the state of Atlanta at a rate of $250 an hour. That is not, while that might seem obscene to those of you who are, working for $10, $15 an hour, or even $50 or $100 an hour, by attorney rates, that is not considered high at all. At all. It varies significantly by state and city. significantly. In New York, you cannot find an attorney worth his salt for $250 per hour. There's no way. When I tried, when I first started practicing, I was offering my services at $250 an hour, and I couldn't get any clients. And if someone actually said to me, if you think your time is worth only $250 per hour, that means it's worth $0 per hour. Yeah, that's New York. That's New York more than 20 years ago. So this is not considered by attorney rates. And I've spoken to attorneys who literally charge $2,000 per hour, which I think is obscene. But in New York, in any firm, they're going to be in any big firm, they're going to be charging $1,000 per hour. So, and the numbers are outrageous. I'm not saying they're justifiable, and those are New York numbers, which are very different. That's the most overpriced attorney jurisdiction probably on the globe. So, that's the numbers I'm used to seeing. That's why when I see $250 per hour, I'm like, that's what you're really like. How low are they supposed to go? Now, public defenders do tend to get paid on a much lower hourly rate, much lower. But still, $250 per hour does not sound high in any sphere. It doesn't sound like that's like, wow, that's obscene. I'm being real with you. I began serving as a municipal court judge in 2010, served as municipal court judge in the cities of Marietta, Austral, and Roswell, and was proud to have been the first African-American municipal court judge in Marietta, Georgia. Oh, I'm a black man. Okay. In that capacity, I served as Pro Hoc State Court Judge for Cobb State Court, presiding over criminal trials. June 19, 2020, I received the President's Award from the Council of Municipal Court Judges. Like I said, municipal court judge, it's basically traffic court. I don't know. It could be small claims court. I don't know. You don't need to know anything. Like literally, you can be practical. That's not any evidence of. To me, that is so not compelling. And to just randomly refer to him as a judge for 10 years and leave out the fact that it's municipal court, I'm sorry. It's almost intentionally trying to mislead the public and overfluff his qualifications. That's what Fani Willis was saying in her stupid little church chat speech. Like, you're a judge for 10 years. You go, child. Like, seriously, you could be a judge in municipal court. You can. It's so stupid. Over the course of my legal career, I've received dozens of accolades, the most satisfying of which has been the gratitude of hundreds of clients over the course of the last 25 years. Okay, that's nice. Other recognition includes, but not limited to, Georgia Trend Magazine Criminal Law Legal Lead 2006. Let's go through his list of honors here. Georgia's Trend Top Lawyer 2009, Cobb Life Magazine Top 40 Under 40 recognition. Okay, all right. So you did okay as an attorney. And I'm not trying, by the way, I want to be clear here. I'm not saying that he's incompetent or that he's an idiot or that he's, a bad lawyer. I don't know that he's a bad lawyer. Maybe he's a great lawyer. He really could be. I don't know that. I don't know that he's not. I mean, I'm not. Well, I have questions about his billing that we're about to see. But, yeah. In my 25 years as an attorney, I represented high-profile athletes, entertainers, elected officials. Really? Okay. In criminal? I served as lead counsel in criminal, civil, and family litigation. Sounds very vague. You got very specific with your awards. You're sounding very vague now. Very vague. Very, very vague. I am not now, nor have I ever been employed at Fulton County. Okay. February 15, 2019, I completed training that authorized me to train new municipal court judges. So I taught other people to do that job that anyone can do. While presenting at a training, and look, I'm not saying that legally there might be requirements that you're an attorney. I don't know. In Georgia, it's very possible that it is. I'm just saying it's not like, it's really not anything noteworthy. They'd be like, oh, okay, this is the guy we need. While presenting a training course to new municipal court judges, I met Fani Willis. In October 2019, I met Fani Willis with the newly appointed chief judge of the city of South Fulton. After being elected the first female district attorney in Atlanta Judicial Circuit in 2020, District Attorney Willis asked me to serve on her transition team, chaired by former Mayor Atlanta Mayor Mayor, Atlanta, Mayor Shirley Franklin. I don't think that they meant to write mayor twice there, but okay, typos happen. In the spring of 2021, Willis asked me and 2 other attorneys to assist her in looking for competent, trustworthy attorney to manage and lead the investigation of possible attempts to interfere with the administration of the 2020 election. Willis was able to offer no more than $250 per hour with a capped number of hours monthly. That hourly rate was significantly less than the market rate for experienced lawyers in the Atlanta metro area. That's probably true. That's probably true. That is almost definitely true. And less than the billing rate for first-year associates in many large firms. That's true. That is true. My previous rate when working for the government entity was $550 per hour. That's probably true too. The DA's office was offering less than half the rate a governmental agency had previously paid me. Okay, yeah, okay. Let's be clear here. Let's be clear. First of all, that was like that he probably got paid like for 2 hours worth of work there by that government agency. So that's not really proof of anything as to what is a normal rate. We see based on how much is being paid to these other people that that's not what Atlanta tends to pay its attorneys. And everyone knows that if you're going to be working, we also don't know just because his normal hourly rate was $5.50 an hour. Nobody knows whether anyone ever paid him that. The hourly rate is your hourly rate. You can charge that. Then you got to get a client who says, yeah, I'm happy to pay you that money, that rate, right? I mean, he can say his hourly rate is $5.50. Maybe he got paid. I'm just saying it's a very empty thing. I'll tell you right now, ever since I started doing YouTube, I'm charging $1,000 per hour. I also haven't taken any clients. I'm probably going to raise those rates to $1,200 per hour. I haven't taken any clients. I don't want to take any clients. Part of the reason I jack up my rate is so that I don't have to worry about taking a client. Because I feel like no one's going to pay me that. No one's going to pay me that. Why would anyone pay me that? Are you crazy? So, yeah, it's very easy. But then I can say, oh, yeah, my hourly rate is $1,000 an hour. Anyone can say that's your hourly rate. The question is, do your potential clients agree with you on that, right? Lawyers who spoke with about taking on the work expressed hesitation due to concerns related to violent rhetoric and potential safety issues for their families. Okay. The DA and other lawyers approached me in September 2021 and asked me to serve the role of special prosecutor in the 2020 election investigation. Understanding demands position, I initially told him I was not interested in giving my 3 judicial appointments or taking more time away from my role as managing partner and primary business generator for my firm. October 2021, upon further consideration, the unique professional challenge this case presented, and also the fact that I was able to charge hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, I agreed to serve as special prosecutor of the case. I first had to officially resign from my judicial appointments. In November 21, his judicial appointments, I guarantee you, paid him a lot less than what he got from this. A lot less. A lot less. A lot less. Which, by the way, those judicial appointments implied to me, I promise you, he wasn't making hundreds of thousands of dollars working as a municipal court judge. There's no way. And that's the other thing which makes me question. You want to know why I raised the question as to how many hours he was able to bill at $5.50 per hour? How many people were happy to pay him $5.50 an hour? Because if he had tons of people paying him $5.50 per hour, this is why I speculate. And it's pure speculation, but it's based on logic. And that is this. If he had 40 hours a week of people willing to pay him at a rate of $5.50 per hour, there's no chance he would have been working as municipal court judge. Zero. No way. No way in hell. No way in hell. So is it possible he got some people who were willing to pay him $5.50 per hour? Yes. Is it likely he was able to earn a living doing that? Almost definitely not. That's my point. So he can say what his rate is. And it could be that he's like, look, I don't want to take on a personal client unless I'm charging $5.50 an hour. The same way Joe DeNiro doesn't want to take anyone on as good Lawgic for under $1,000 an hour. But the fact of the matter is that doesn't mean people are lining up to pay me $1,000 an hour. That's just reality. That's reality. So that being the case, when he's going out there saying I charge $50 an hour, could be a couple of clients paying him $5.50 an hour. But there's no way he was getting a living doing that. And that's why he became municipal court judge. There's just there's no other basis for it. There's no other logic behind it. That's my point. So it's a little disingenuous to say, "Oh, he's a $5.50 an hour attorney." You're really a $5.50 an hour attorney if you're able to make a living doing that. But if you can like get a couple clients to pay you $5.50 per hour, and that's not enough for you to like live off of, then you're not a $5.50 an hour attorney. You're just not. You're a guy who's getting paid. What is municipal court? Let's check out. What does a municipal court judge get paid in Atlanta? Probably find that out, right? Municipal court judge paid salary. For work, can we see his payments here? Let's City of Atlanta. Point is, okay, over here, these judges are getting between like 180 and 182, and that's not municipal court. This is City of Atlanta judge. I'm telling you, he wasn't making no. Please, just stop. Just stop. Just stop. I'm sure someone can dig up how much this guy was making. I'm sure someone can dig up how much he was making when he was working as a municipal court judge. I'm positive that it was like a joke compared to how much he's raked in from the city of Atlanta since he got the special prosecutor job. It's a joke. It's a joke. So to say that there's no financial benefit to her, that all of a sudden her man is bringing in over $500,000 a year, working his job, that's ridiculous. That's a joke. It's crap. I bet the whole Fulton County judicial system, including judges, heard rumors about Fani corruption since she assumed office. She's loathsome. I have no doubt you're correct on that, Kimmy. Can we have a poll asking viewers would like more humanities on Saturday, please, like we used to? I'm not doing that now. Cobb County investigation. He had no notes. Did you miss exhibit on Fani? Make believe Kathy. Which exhibit on Fani? Make believe Kathy. Which exhibit? Big Fani never overfluffs. No, she overfluffs a lot. Did he consider before or after he fell in love with Fani? Yeah, that's probably what helped him reconsider. Honestly, I think he probably could do better than Fani. If you ask me, she's a sugar mama for him. My personal take is she's likely a sugar mama. As special prosecutor, the case required a vast majority of my time, as is reflected on the submitted invoices. In many instances, I documented work performed that would have exceeded my contractual cap and did not request or receive payment for the county for that work. Okay, we're going to get to that. My private practice has continued to generate revenue separate and apart from my compensation as special prosecutor. Okay. While professional associates and friends since 2019, there was no personal relationship between District Attorney Willis and me prior to the time of my appointment as special prosecutor in 2021. This is something which I just want to point out here. Roman put an initial response to this. I'm going to pull this up here. This is his response to this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pull this up afterwards. I'm almost done with this. Yeah. In 2022, District Attorney Willis and I developed a personal relationship in addition to our professional association and friendship. I have no financial interest in the outcome of the 2020 election, interference case, or the conviction of any defendant. No funds paid to me in compensation for my role as special prosecutor have been shared with or provided to District Attorney Willis. Well, you're buying her gifts like a cruise trip. The DA received no personal No funds or personal financial gain for my position as special prosecutor. No, she's got gifts. That's all. I've never cohabitated with District Attorney Willis. I don't know what cohabitated means in this context, but I think that means moved in with her. I've never shared household expenses with her. Never shared a joint financial account with her. Okay. The DA and I both financially independent professionals. Expenses for personal travel roughly divided equally between us. Roughly divided equally between us. We're going to see the evidence of that. At times, I made and purchased travel for DA Willis and myself from my personal funds. At other times, Willis has made and purchased travel for she and I from her personal funds. Examples of District Attorney Willis purchasing plane tickets for she and I with her personal funds and for our personal travel are attached. We're going to pull those up. Let's see what Roman has to say about this. This is his reply. Let us be clear. If Mr. Roman had not uncovered the now admitted personal relationship between Willis and Wade, no one may have ever known about it. That raises the obvious and important question. If they had nothing to hide in the first place because they did nothing wrong, why did they intentionally not tell anyone about it until they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar? Great question, Roman. This highlights the very reason why this court cannot just take their word for it. Well said. They now attempt to escape accountability by asking this court to deny Mr. Roman the right to cross-examine and test the assertions at an evidentiary hearing, going so far as to submit an affidavit from Wade that is inadmissible and violative of the confrontation clauses of both the United States and Georgia constitutions. They are hoping this court simply sees all the growing smoke cloud and says, no fire, nothing else to see here. Not that simple. This is not summary judgment motion. People's freedom and lives are at stake. Notably, Wade's affidavit proves that a hearing in this matter is needed. Get that hearing! Give me a hearing! Oh, yeah! I want a hearing, please. For example, if Roman was permitted to cross-examine Wade, he would ask questions such as the following. In paragraph 17 of your affidavit, you swore that you met Willis in October 2019 at municipal court training. Isn't it true that you began more than just a friendship at that conference? In paragraph 31 of your affidavit, you swore that you have never cohabitated with Mr. Willis, but the attached documents show you shared a king-size bed with her in Aruba from November 1, 2022 until November 4, 2022. So what does cohabitated mean there? Because to me, cohabitated sounds like you're trying to say I never slept with her, but you're being kind of dicey about it. Does it mean you never slept with her? Does it mean you never moved in with her? What the hell does that mean? Additionally, witnesses will testify that you cohabitated with Miss Willis at her home in South Fulton until her father moved in with her, and then you then began to cohabitate in the apartment of a friend of hers in East Point. Uh-oh. Additionally, witnesses will testify you cohabitated with Miss Willis at the Airbnb in Hapeville that was paid for by taxpayer money to serve as a safe house for you and Miss Willis. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. I need a sound effect for that. I definitely need a sound effect because that was not working for me. The state's response also states that Wade has significant trial experience. If his experience is so significant, then he should welcome the opportunity to testify as to the specifics of the cases he's tried and enjoyed the candid transparency that would bring to the process instead of hiding behind an unsubstantiated claim that he has tried complex matters, including murder, rape, armed robbery, aggravated assault, and drug trafficking. Yeah, get him. To put it plainly, he's given this court and the public no reason to take his word for it. A hearing is also needed because it appears that the DA's office is not being entirely candid and transparent as they allege in their response. For example, the state attached to its motion as Exhibit H a contract that Mr. Roman has been asking for but has never received. Erica Willingham, the open records officer for the Fulton County District Attorney, responded repeatedly that she's given undecided counsel all of the contracts that existed between FCDA and Mr. Wade, but yet this contract was not contained among those. This creates important factual questions about whether Wade and Willis have been transparent that can only be resolved in an evidentiary hearing. Oh, I think you're getting your hearing. I think that hearing is coming. Roman requested copies of the invoices that are now attached to the state's response in Exhibit 3 on January 4, 2024 through an open records portal for the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Mr. Roman requested these invoices and made repeated attempts to obtain them, but the DA's office failed to do so based on staffing levels and workloads. First time those invoices were ever made available to Mr. Roman was an exhibit in the state's response. State's response, and we're going to look at those exhibits before I wrap up here. The state's response also blames Mr. Roman for not supplementing his motion once the divorce file was unsealed. That's the exact purpose of an evidentiary hearing. And Roman intends to present the evidence at the hearing. This is a criminal case, not a civil case. It cannot be decided on ex parte, self-serving affidavits. Some of the individuals with whom Roman has subpoenaed to testify have personal knowledge that Wade Willis' personal relationship began before his appointment as a special prosecutor. Whoa! Whoa! You lied. I got witnesses saying you're liars. Wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That is potentially significant. I have witnesses that say you lied. You committed perjury in your affidavit, Wade. Dang. Dang. In other words, they have knowledge that the assertion by Willis in the state's response and in Wade's affidavit are both false. This is the reason Roman is entitled to cross-examine state's witnesses, including Willis and Wade, on the material facts going to the heart of the issue and whether they should be disqualified. Wow. 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 If a judge finds that testimony from those, if they have these witnesses and that testimony, a judge finds that to be compelling, that can be very significant. Very, very, very significant. Wow. Roman's saying you're lying. You're lying under oath to the court. I got witnesses who are going to swear to it that you're a liar. That could be huge. That could be huge. I hope a world of hurt, of legal hurt, falls upon these two people. Georgia Municipal Association government in the Sunshine to locate their Sunshine sites since cannot share links. Georgia Municipal Association government in the Sunshine. What? What? You got a whole honka going on here. A whole honka. All right. I want to pull up here. I want to just show you the billing that he gave. Let's go through some of his exhibits here. Here's him talking, him showing you, see, some of the stuff I cover is in the news. I don't know where he's in the news there, but this is a case he supposedly handled. I don't know. I don't know what he's showing articles here. Okay. Here he is as a municipal court judge, very good at his traffic court stuff. Got in on top lawyers. That's I guess to some people something. I don't know what that means. Georgia trend. Okay. I want to get to his bills. These are bills he would not show anyone until he was forced to. And I agree with you. A lot of times it's like the biggest joke in the world, these awards. Like you're one of the 5 people who bought the magazine. We'll put you in there. I don't know what this is. Having exhibited professional concern for the association's objective. All right. Here are his awards. All right. Here's the bills. You want to see these bills? Look at this guy. Look at this guy. This is what grand jury 9 hours. So I guess you were in front of a grand jury for 9 hours. Okay. Team research, drafting group conference. On what? On what? What the hell does that even mean? Whenever I create a bill, you ever get a legal bill? If you've ever gotten a legal bill from me, I'm telling you what topic I'm researching, the byproduct of it. He just says team research, drafting. Drafting what? What are you drafting? 19 hours? Over 3 days Just random over 3 days. I spent 19 hours. There was research and drafting a group conference. This is not a lawyer's bill. I'll tell you right now that he's in private practice charging people $5.50 an hour. I guarantee you, no client is saying, oh yeah, that's totally fine. I'm totally accepting that bill. Where you just say research drafting group conference. What the hell does that mean? It's not overcharging. It's the fact that these bills look like a joke. They were joked the way they're worded. Research team meeting, and doc preparation. What does this mean? What docs are you preparing? You have to spell out. You're charging $2,500 for this work that you did between August 15th and 16th. You spell out what the hell you were doing. Not team meeting. You got 10 hours of team meeting, doc preparation. We don't even know what documents you're preparing. It's lazy because otherwise you could be doing the same doc preparation over and over again. Another team hearing prep, attorney meetings, federal court. I guess he's in court. They can figure out what he was there for. You say while you're in court. You say what you're doing in court. What the hell is he doing in federal court on August 28th? For 9 hours. This is a state court issue. Why are you in federal court for 9 hours? You should say on this motion regarding this issue. That's what any lawyer puts in there. You want to know why? Because no client would pay. Nobody pays. They're arguing against your bill. They'll be like, how did it take you 6 hours to draft a complaint that's 4 pages long? You can't just write drafting documents. This is a joke, and this is what he does over and over again. And also, glomming together 3 days, research team meeting, 33 hours. What part of that was the team meeting? What part is the research? What are you researching? What is that about? This is not a bill. 33 hours over 4 days, that is not a bill. That is made up. That is just, 33 hours over here. That is what this is. This is crap. This is hot garbage. Anyone who's looking at this, I'm going to tell you, want to know why he doesn't show these bills? Because nobody who's actually paying for it, no client who's actually paying for it would be like, that's okay. This is okay. This is fine. And this is how all of his bills look. Federal court, OA conference. I guess that's something. Team meeting, doc preparation, 10 hours. What documents? What are you preparing? Look, I'm not saying he never prepared documents. There's a lengthy complaint. Maybe he drafted it. I don't know if he drafted it. There's a lengthy charging document. It goes on for 98 pages. That had to take a great deal of time to write that. I don't know if he wrote it. I don't know if someone else wrote it. But you would think that's going to be here. So tell us when it's written. Witness interviews. You give a list of who you interviewed. Legal argument research. You could just literally write every day, I have legal argument research. You can put that down for seriously 8 hours a day. Legal research meeting. You could literally write in any number of hours and anything for your bill. Anything. If you're not detailing what the meeting is about, what the research is about, what documents you're drafting. Yeah, and I'll tell you something, as an attorney who's created bills like this, sometimes there will be days where you are working 18 hours. And when I'm doing something like that, I will break down for them. And this, I don't think that makes me special. I think that makes me normal. That I'll break down for them. There's 4.5 hours doing research on these different issues, and I'll label what issues I was researching. And then I'll have 3 hours of drafting and an hour and a half of editing and then an hour and a quarter on the phone and break down how this is a total of 18 hours because that's the only way you get a client to pay. But if your client is your girlfriend, she doesn't care. She don't care. Right? I mean, come on. This is a joke. Drafting, team meeting, interview, 8 hours, 25 hours, attorney meetings, discovery meetings. What the hell is happening here? This is 25 hours over 3 days, attorney meetings, discovery meetings. What? No, nobody would pay this bill. 0 people would pay this bill. 0 people who were not vested and interested. And this is something I hope Roman's attorneys, if they get that hearing, would make a big stink about. The only reason she's paying these bills is because this is her boyfriend. That's why. Because who the hell submits a bill like this? This is a joke. This is a joke. And look, you know what? Someone made this point here, which I think is a fair point. Government pays. You know what? Maybe government is not as demanding a client. That's very possible. That's possible. I'm just telling you, I've never submitted a bill like this. No one would pay me for a bill like this. If I gave a bill like this, they'd like laugh at me. They'd giggle. They're like, yeah, I'm paying that, Joe. Go F yourself. That's what I would hear. That's what I would hear. Tell me what it is you did. I need to know what you did. Not witness interviews. You say which witnesses you're interviewing. Team meetings. All these team meetings that go on for 40 hours. We don't even know what the hell the team is meeting about. Who's on the team? What's this team? Is this the A team? Who are you meeting with? I want to know. I want to know. It's such a joke, these bills. It's such a joke. And it's $4,200 for 17 hours over here, over 2 days, prep for hearings, witnesses. Which hearings? I mean, I guess over here you can figure out based on there being a hearing the next day. Maybe. I don't know. It's a lot of prep. Team meetings, team prep emotions. This is just a joke. It's a joke. So he's trying to show here. You see, I ran out of hours at the end there, so I didn't get paid for this. Yeah, well, I think you made up all your numbers in the first place anyway. I'll tell you right now, someone gave me a bill like this, I'd be like, you're a liar. You made up all those numbers. I don't believe anything you put there. I don't believe anything. I need details. That's what I would say. This is like how a kid thinks a bill should be made, not someone who actually has to get paid or someone who pays one of these bills. People who pay these bills know that they wouldn't pay this. They wouldn't. Again, could be government work. It's different. He's getting paid at a much lower rate. He's like, I don't have time to flesh out these bills when you pay me only $2.50 an hour. Could be. I don't know. I think we got a good shot at getting an evidentiary hearing. Am I promising you we're going to get one? No, but I think we have a really good shot at one. And if there is, I'll tell you this much: I plan on covering this thing on on February 15th, day after Valentine's Day. So hopefully they're going to get a good night's rest before this hearing. And all the struggle is going to be real. Got Valentine's Day. It's going to have to get Fani a big box of shaped like a heart of chocolates, probably 2, because she's a hefty girl, so he might have to get her 2, and he's getting paid through the nose here. And supposedly this guy got $700,000 from this. I can't believe. I guarantee you he hasn't made $700,000 before. I guarantee you that. Over a 2-year period. I guarantee you he never did. Ever. This is more money he's ever made before. That's my prediction. You go through his tax records, I guarantee you're not going to find that he made $400,000 in any year ever in his life until he started working for Fani Willis. So stop telling me that this is not financial benefit. And that's part of what they will ask him. Anyhow, so that's what we got so far. She admits the relationship. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. I see what you did here. You left out the A in gap. I like that. I like it. It is gap accounting. Yeah, this is a joke. That's a joke. Oh, I forgot to share this with you. Remember how he took her on a cruise? You know what she did for him? Because they shared their bills equally. Delta Airlines. How much you pay? $700 that she supposedly paid. I don't know if she paid this or not. I don't know if this is evidence that she paid it or not. But supposedly, name Fani Willis. She used Sky Miles. I don't know. But even she used Sky Miles. I don't know. Base fare is $6.21. Supposedly, this is the ticket, your flight receipt that he got. So Nathan Wade got the flight receipt. So in exchange for the Caribbean cruise, she laid out $700. Oh, this is showing. I don't even want to show this because I'm going to get all sorts of issues with this. I don't want to show that. But they're trying to show the racism where they got all these letters which were basically showing. And I don't think anyone, I think racism is gross. It's disgusting. And I don't care what the race of the person is. I think it's gross. So anyone who's sending racist messages to Fani or Nathan Wade, I don't. But yeah, they share a couple of letters that they got. A total of 4 exhibits. 3 instances of. Wait, nope. Sorry, 4. 4 different racist type of messages that were sent to Fani and or Nathan. And I don't know how it's relevant to this at all. I guess to show that this is not all a bed of roses. I think you deal with getting nasty letters from douchebags to make $750,000 over 2 years. I think a lot of people would. I don't know, just me. Maybe I'm a cynic. Anyway, let me know whether I think it makes sense to do Crumbley in the morning on Monday and just do that review while we're waiting a verdict. I think that's the way it makes sense to do this. I don't think it's going to take a long time for a verdict. I'm hoping that it's going to be like in one day. So I'm thinking in the morning, I'll start breaking down the Crumbley thing, and I'll go through it to sort of parse out the key parts of the cross-examination, closing arguments, and maybe condense out the parts which seem a little bit unnecessary. I think I'm going to do that Monday morning. That's what that's the plan right now. Anything else? Are we good? We cover everything? And maybe I'll look at some of the other people who disagree with me, because I know lawyer totally disagreed with me. From what I heard, totally. I really liked the work that Shannon Smith did in closing. I think better than he did. And I'll tell you why it is I agree or disagree with his take. Maybe we'll look at his take together. I'll see. All right. So that's probably going to be Monday, but I'll be back here, God willing, tomorrow. I'm also going to see if I can squeeze in a locals for you guys tomorrow. Worcestershire sauce is all upset that I didn't get to do any humanities tonight. Maybe I'll do humanities on locals. That's a good logic. .locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. Goodlogic.locals.com. That's my show, and I'm sticking to it. Till tomorrow, I thank you all for being a part of my life. I look forward to seeing you. Remember, stay happy, eat the bugs. And as always, my friends, I say to you, Godspeed.